Crystal Dunn is our next guest here on Football Americas, now of Gotham FC. Just signed a new contract, having gone through the, I'm sure, grueling process of free agency. Crystal, welcome back to the show. Great to have you, and congratulations. Well deserved.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
So you and I talked kind of at the end of last season, and I mentioned, hey, free agency's coming up, and you had that twinkle in your eye. I remember. So tell us a little bit about the process. Can you compare it to anything, and what was it like? Because I know it's something that the players in the league have really fought for.
Yeah, I mean, free agency was quite an incredible experience. I feel like I can kind of closely compare it to choosing a college all over again. So it was quite a process. It fell in a very weird time of the year. I mean, in September, when you're still committed to playing for your current club team and you're competing for a championship, but at the same time, I was able to balance both. Be present, obviously, at Portland Thorns at the time, and also be able to kind of explore and kind of test the waters of where I could potentially move to next.
Crystal, free agency is a topic for me that is really interesting, just in terms of how important it is to the NWSL. Why do you think it's so key for players to kind of have this, I don't want to say weapon, but something that they can utilize to kind of choose their futures?
Yeah, I think free agency is super important for players to just be able to advocate for themselves, to be able to, you know, place their value where they want their value. And I think it's been a long time coming. I've been playing in this league for a very long time. I've played for 4 different professional teams, and those were all through trades. And I was very fortunate to be able to be traded to the teams that I wanted to go to. But that is not the fate that most players face in the NWSL. So I think free agency is really important because players should be able to really dictate where they want to play and be able to join a team that is going to value them and be invested in them. So I am such a big fan of it. I've enjoyed my experience with it, and I hope in the future more players can have access to being free agents.
Free agency is like it's a power tool for the players. And there wasn't long ago that I felt like NWSL players, maybe if you looked across major pro sports, had the least amount of power. And then you have 2021, this kind of chaotic year. And now it seems like you guys have a lot of power. Can we trace some of the steps that have happened here, as free agency, the power that the players have, to kind of the low point that 2021 was for the league?
Yeah, I think one, being a member of the US Women's National Team, we are always pushing for, the growth of the game. We have an obligation of not just performing and playing at the highest stage in World Cups and Olympics, but also progressing the domestic league. And I think finding success in 2019, winning a World Cup, I think has really put a boom in women's soccer in the country. And I think from then we've pushed for even more. We've pushed for better broadcasting deals, which we are now having in this upcoming season. We're pushing for free agency because we believe, we should be considered how other clubs and leagues outside of the US are, which is global free agency. As a player, you should be able to choose and dictate where you want to go. If a club is interested in you and your contract is up, you should be able to say, yes, I would love to go play for this coach and for this organization. And I think what we're finding now is players are gaining back a little bit of control that they rightfully we deserve and we should be having. And we're just taking advantage of it. And I think it's been, like I said, an incredible experience these last couple of months, being able to take my time and to say, where do I want to play? Where is the best place that fits not just me, but my family? And being able to really do a deep dive into these organizations.
Props to Crystal there. The ESPN brass can be very happy. She mentioned the TV deal. ESPN thrilled to be a part of the many companies involved there in the TV broadcast deal for the NWSL. You mentioned the competition there and kind of having choices. I wonder how you see the competition, since you mentioned, the U.S. Women's National Team also kind of has a role in growing the domestic game with NWSL. How do you see the competition as somebody who has been overseas between the NWSL and kind of the elite of Europe, right? Because that's really what we're considering as the competition to know the best women's soccer in the world.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see now is players in the NWSL are getting paid better. I think that is a gateway into attracting better players outside of the US who actually do want to come to the US, but have always been hesitant because of the salary cap being low and not being able to feel like they're going to get the most out of the experience of being in the NWSL. I think scheduling games has always been hard, and the flight and the challenge in the NWSL is not an easy league to play in, and I think, you're going to just find that the NWSL has its pros, it has its cons as well. We are still a growing and developing league, but at the same time, like, it is so intense. Like, if you are finding success in this league, I truly believe that it is bringing the best out of you as a player. That's how I've always felt. That's why I'm an advocate for this league, because even though I've had my spell overseas, I do believe that the NWSL is one of those leagues where anyone can show up and win at any given moment. And I think that brings out the best in you. You can't rest players. You can't really do all the things that you may be able to do in other leagues because of that competitiveness that this league does present. But I think the pay is definitely what is going to get us closer to other leagues. Being able to attract those top players, I think, is something that we are still fighting and working hard to give to this league.
You say anybody can win on any given day. Last season, it was, of course, Gotham FC that won it all. So let's get into the decision, right? The nitty gritty of kind of why you chose Gotham, aside from the fact that they're now the reigning champs, and it's a little bit of a hometown move. Why else
Yes.
Gotham FC? Or maybe the hometown factor is a big deal. I'd imagine at this point in your career it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's massive. I would be lying if I said it wasn't really like top priority. I think outside of that as well, I think I know a lot of these players. It's funny because I have moved around from time to time on different clubs, and I feel like almost coming home is a great comforting feeling, but also joining a team that has so many players that I've played alongside, at some stage in my career. There's Lynn Williams, there's Midge Purse, there's Katie Stengel that I played with at Washington Spirit, Abby Smith and Yasmin Ryan. I was just at Portland with them. So like, I almost feel like I'm joining a team where I'm like, I know these girls, I know their talent. I know, who they are as people, but also as teammates. And so I'm really excited to feel like for the first time in a long time, I'm joining a team where I'm like, oh my gosh, like these are my people, every other move, I feel like I almost had to be like, all right, I'm joining a new team. This isn't my team yet. I have to kind of feel it out. It's like being that new kid at a new school. You're like looking around, you're like, oh my goodness, what? Like who's gonna be my friends, who's gonna be my group, kind of thing. But I do feel like I'm coming home not just to family and friends, but also to players that I've played alongside with at some point.
You're mentioning all these players, and I'm starting to see like an 11 forming, right? A potential 11. You know what my next question is? Crystal Dunn gets to choose where she's going to play. I can't think that she chose a place that's going to put her at right back, right? So where is Crystal Dunn fitting into this star-studded team that y'all are putting together?
Well, story of my life, Crystal Dunn is going to play where the coach tells me that they want me to play. It is a sad reality, but it is my reality, and it's honestly one of those things where I've like leaned into. It's kind of like, yeah, I don't get that luxury of just being like, I'm recruited to come here. I'm going to be playing in this position, and I see it clearly. It's kind of like I had to have these deeper conversations with the coaching staff about, first of all, tactics. What formation, what is the general identity of this team. I mean, I think this team could look very much different than it did last year. So I think with that is probably going to come an alter kind of identity and a style of play, which I'm excited about. I think that almost presents a blank canvas that I get to kind of step into as well. And, I would love to be in an attacking role. I mean, hands down, everybody who always asks, it's like, Crystal Dunn wants to get forward. She wants to go and be involved in, creating chances for the team. I think that is what I'm always the most passionate about as a player on the field. But at the same time, like, if you need me to block some shots and stop some goals, like, listen, I'm your girl to do that as well. So to answer your question, who knows? I'm just as, in the dark as you kind of, but preseason's around the corner, and I think I'll get some answers soon.
All right. I'm sure you're not as in the dark as I am. Let's at least make that clear. I'm just thinking of this three-headed monster up top, Midge Purse, Lynn Williams, and you kind of pulling the strings. I mean, tell me that doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound like a winning formula.
I mean, it sounds amazing, but you also have Esther, who's like obviously an incredible player coming off of winning the World Cup. I mean, honestly, it's going to be scary how good I think we're going to be this year, which is exciting. But getting the right players in their right positions, I think is something that we are going to lean heavily on Juan and the staff to be able to construct. I mean, he has a busy job ahead of him, and he's going to do his absolute best to make sure that we are prepared, and not just as talented teammates, but also as a team that's just firing on all cylinders and having a great chemistry.
Are we about to have a dynasty on our hands here?
I mean, listen, I truly believe we are on the horizon for that because we're gonna have some scary good talent, which is incredible. But like I said, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like, man, the staff is gonna have to work their magic and make sure we are all, doing what we need to do. I mean, honestly, with that also comes a lot of pressure. I mean, everyone's always like, all right, are you expected to win back-to-back championships? And I'm like, listen, I accept the challenge of basically being a part of this team moving forward. I absolutely want to do everything in my power to make sure that we are the most successful team possible, especially if we are going out and getting a lot of talent. I'm like, ooh, the pressure's on for us to, perform. But listen, with that comes a lot of responsibility, but it's going to be an amazing challenge ahead of us.
And there's also, a big year on the international stage. We got the Olympics coming up, which for the U.S. women's national team, huge opportunity, kind of right the wrongs of the
Yes.
last World Cup. How do you feel as you think about that tournament, which is now only, 6-7 months away?
Yeah, I mean, it's like around the corner, it almost feels like. But Olympics are hard rosters to make, only 18 players. We have amazing talent, obviously. And so I feel like it is a roster that I would be incredibly grateful to be a part of. But like you touched on, it's like it's another big stage, big opportunity for the US to kind of move forward in a very positive, powerful way. And so might as well start the very next year after coming off of the World Cup that we had last year.
You're one of the few people that if I want to ask what's Emma Hayes like, I can get a real answer. You worked with her at Chelsea for a couple years. We actually,
Yes.
fortunately enough, here at ESPN, we got to work with her as well during the Women's Euros a couple summers
Oh
back.
yeah.
And the intensity, Crystal, I'm sure you saw this as a player, but the detail of the preparation really blew me away. I mean, she showed up with
Yeah.
dossiers of the entire field. And it was like you had all the information you could ever want. And I just imagined as a player, like what a huge asset that is to have. What more can you tell us
Yeah.
about kind of Emma Hayes and working under
Oh,
her?
I mean, you touched on it. Emma is so detailed oriented. She is such a tactician that is the number one and the first thing that I felt when I joined Chelsea. It's like I felt that she did her homework. She really did all the preparation needed in order to make us the best players that we could possibly be. And she's a winner. I think one thing that her and I bonded over was American mentality of like always wanting to win, like pushing for that success. And she complimented me a lot while I was there on just like that kind of like do never say die kind of mentality. Because that's something that she instills on all her players. And I know her time coaching in the US, she definitely like felt that. But if I can describe Emma, it's just, a win by any means necessary kind of mentality. She cares genuinely about players, not just who we are on the field, but also who we are as people off the field. And I think that is so unique because most coaches, yeah, they want to win and they, do care about you as players in some degree. But I think caring about both who you are off and off the field, I think is what brings out the best player in you. Having a coach that really is invested in you as a human being, I think is something that she has mastered, and she really brings players along the way to just believe in everything she says because she truly is someone who genuinely cares about you.
It's interesting, Crystal, to hear you mention tactics as one of her kind of strong points. It makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
We hear about tactics all the time, and a lot of times it's really nebulous. When a coach loses, you criticize their tactics, and when they win or when their team wins, you kind of praise their tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think tactics are so important, not just at the international level, but specifically to the U.S. women's national team?
I mean, yeah, you say the word tactics, people are like, yeah, tactics. What does that mean? Is that just formation? You want individual battles won both on the ball, off the ball. But it is about having that concoction of the talent with the tactics, with the technical abilities that you want to see from the team. Like it's everything. It's not just formation. I think when people talk about tactics, they're like, yeah, so a 4-3-3 or 4-4-2, and I'm like, no. It's bigger than that. It is about rotations. It's about chemistry of the players on the field. It's about fluidity, creativity. And I think she is in every team she's ever coached has allowed players to be them and to like bring up the best individually so that they can go out and perform and almost feel like they are like they can close their eyes and know exactly where the players are on the field. And I think that is something that we can benefit from on the national team is just that fluidity, that creativity of people just, not overthinking, just playing, just really being like, all right, I know exactly where my teammates want from me, where they need to be, and just almost on this like automatic phase on the field. So I think she's going to be someone that brings in such great leadership and just so many creative ideas for us to just be at our very best.
How do you think the fact that she'll kind of officially take over, and I know she's already had a hand in things, just before the Olympics maybe impact preparations? Do you think that's something that you guys can overcome and truly be ready for this tournament?
Yeah, I believe so. First and foremost, we have no choice but to, crack on and kind of just accept that this is how we are, transitioning into this new phase. Emma has put a lot of time into Chelsea. She is literally, that's her baby. So she is so deserving of basically seeing out the season. I can only imagine how hard it is for her to balance this new job, but also remaining present in her current job, competing for, Champions League and winning the WSL. So I feel like we are giving her the grace she needs in order to balance both. And we know that she is doing everything in her power to make sure that we are readily prepped, come Olympic time. But in between that time, there's constant communication. She has a lot of people on the ground who are connecting with players to make sure that we have everything we need. So it's as seamless as it possibly can be.